Dear viewers and listeners, welcome to another episode of the second podcast series of the QuantiFarm project. In this podcast episode, we welcome Dr. Daniel Rossi from our partner Confagricoltura. First of all, welcome and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me here.
And together we will talk about Confagricoltura's role in policy making and capacity building within the QuantiFarm project.
Yes, we love this kind of project because we had the possibility to express our role in policy making and policy recommendations, and in particular capacity building of the farmers, because Confagricoltura is the Italian Confederation of Farmers, and we belong to the European Confederation Copa-Cogeca, is the umbrella organization in Brussels, and I try to make 2 days per week, because I chair and co-chair the Working Party of Research and Innovation in the Food Drink Europe and in Copa-Cogeca, to build the bridge between farmers and food industry.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and now I would like us to talk a little bit more about Confagricoltura's role within the QuantiFarm project, how it contributes to policy making and capacity building.
We try to build a methodology where the different policies that affect the digital technologies will be measured in a quantified aspect, will be measured to identify exactly the impact on economy, on society, and wellness of the farmers. That's the idea. Not only to describe in a qualitative way, but also to find a quantitative way to analyze the policy-making process.
Thank you very much. And how do you use your expertise to represent farmers' interest when shaping national and EU-level policies?
We try to build this kind of policy-making activity, asking to the farmers firstly, which are the main important needs for the near future and the long term. Then to find the policy tools that are fitting with this kind of criteria. In the long-term vision, education, fiscality, and short-term incentive aids supporting the farmers' activities.
And are you taking any specific steps to ensure that the farmers' voice and real needs are heard and reflected in the policy discussion in the QuantiFarm project?
That's very important. This kind of project is the first one where I feel really that the validity, the validation of the policy tools are really employed for the first time, measured, and we think that our policy recommendations are really effective. But the problem is to give effectiveness to the policy recommendation. Otherwise, there are only manifesto.
And we, of course, want tangible things and proof.
Concrete things.
Yes, exactly. This is what QuantiFarm is all about, to have proof and evidence that we're actually making something.
And to give an orientation to the policymakers. Which are the most effective policy tools? Which are the less expensive but the most effective? Which can you match with different policy tools and correlate them?
Thank you very much. And now I would like to ask you, how are you building capacity among farmers and stakeholders to better understand and adopt digital solutions in agriculture?
We have 3 kinds of activities. One kind of activity is training the trainees. So having an activity to train the trainees, and the trainees will help the farmers. But this is a very traditional approach. A second approach is to choose and to pick up the most, the champions of the farmers. And they will learn the other farmers how to be the champions. So a snowball effect. Mm-hmm. Because the farmers trust only on farmers. They have so they are not so confident with their people, but they're very confident with their farmers. Listen each by other. And the third activity is to have seminars and workshops. Another activity is to take all the farmers together in our territories, and then helping there to make their own the solution, and supplying some digital tools and check the digital tools with them, not only with the provider, but with them to the provider. So it's a very good idea on the field, we may say.
So education is very important, and of course trust, and to feel familiar with the other farmers and all these seminars. And
to check together the digital tools.
Yes, okay.
Very important.
To see them, to actually have contact and connection with these.
Right. But we have to give it always a filter to the data providers, because data providers are induced to say that this digital tool is fantastic, provides some good results, advantages in the long term, benefits and so on. Sometimes it's not completely true, so it's better to filter it, and we help that farmers, that providers and farmers to filter a little bit the information and knowledge.
Thank you very much for all this useful information. And now, what kind of training tools or support has Confagricoltura provided so far to help farmers engage with digital technologies?
You know that for the farmers, it's impossible to organize the training as a student, as a normal class, ordinary class, because we have not 60, 80 hours to give them. So normally we organize micro inputs, micro credentials, to give them the possibility to pick the different modules from our repository, e-training, and to pick the best one for them in half an hour, 1 hour, like little pills. That's the only way to bring the farmers into the e-learning, otherwise it's impossible.
So that they find what is tailored to their needs?
Yes, and they pick from the repository that we have the best solution in terms of timing, languages, and check certification.
Great, thank you very much for your answer. And how does your organization, Confagricoltura, lead the organization of demo events? And of course, what role do these events play in the knowledge sharing process between the test cases?
Yes, demo events are very, very important because at the end of the project we have to show the results. We try with Confagricoltura to coordinate the 30 demo events all over Europe and to make them with a template, to have some harmonization between these different demo events and some precise results to be shared between the different partners of the project.
So they all have the same methodology?
Exactly, the same approach, yes.
Yes, the same approach.
And we may compare the results, yes.
Yes, which is very important, as I imagine, because we need specific data to collect so that the approach helps all these, the final results.
Yes, because territories are very different, farmers are very different, but the methodology has to be the same to compare data and results, yes.
Exactly, thank you very much. And now can you share an example of how feedback from farmers collected during these activities has helped influence project directions or policy discussions?
Well, one good example is the drones. Drones are very nice, very, I say, sexy.
And modern.
Modern. So it's very difficult because drones has a very limited weight to bring. So pesticides are not possible with the drones, after drones. Some other things, water is not possible without drones. So you have to do the drones mainly to give us the information on temperature, on climate, to give us the possibility to check exactly the period to collect the fruits, to help the salads, to bring the water to the crops, and so on, with the help of the satellites and drones. So they are the most important things. So sometimes we are excited about the digital tools. We have to give the digital tools the right way to help us.
Of course. Thank you very much. And one final question before we finish our podcast for today. What are the key policy challenges or gaps that QuantiFarm is helping to address, especially when it comes to supporting digital transformation on farms?
The first point is rotation and we say intergenerational tools, to help the farmers, in particular the aged farmers, to be assisted by the young son, the young daughters, to help them, the children, to help them to change their own culture, open the mind to the digital tools, languages, English is very not well known by the farmers. So I think the first solution, the policy tool, is to help intergenerational change. The second one is to bring the farmers to our meetings with the idea to not to give them solution, but to give them the possibility to help them on new knowledges and new opportunities. They may choose with themselves, with their own autonomy, without our help, but they may know about the opportunity they have, and now they didn't know. And the third point is with the demo events, to show how some digital tools really benefit the advantages, give advantage to their own activities. And this is possible to replicate this kind of. So there are three ways to be more sensitive on that.
Thank you very much. And are you having anything planned or any next steps that you would like to share?
We have a very fantastic step. We try to build a very important partnership in Europe. The name is institutional partnership, to have this innovation rates, innovation process, innovation success acceleration. So startups, intergenerational, a lot of tools to help all the food system to innovate a little bit more. The institutional partnership is the name.
That sounds very promising.
Yes, we hope to. It's a very huge project because it's 1 billion euro. So it's very, I say, ambitious.
Yes, exactly.
Ambitious. But we are very ambitious. Without dreams, we don't go anywhere.
This is so much true. Thank you very, very much, and for participating and for sharing all your valuable information with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you.
Thank you
very much.
And as for you, dear viewers and listeners, thank you very much for watching this episode. And don't forget to stay tuned for all the next episodes.